If there's one thing that computers have brought to general practice, it's paper. Over the last 10 years, we've seen a huge expansion in the number of forms. They're very easy to make these days. A lot of these have to do with patients directly, referral forms, advice forms. In fact, on a quick route round the practice of just the forms that we keep, and I do fill in quite a lot more for other that we don't, I managed to find 50 separate forms. And that's enough to wallpaper a small wall. In fact, that's enough to wallpaper that small wall. Now, if we look at the forms, we start to notice they have an awful lot in common. They all ask for who I am. They all ask for where I work. They all ask for the patient's name, age, date of birth, telephone number, NHS number. But they're all in such different formats that it's very difficult to try and pin them down, establish commonality. All this information is sat in our practice computer system. But how many of these forms come with computer support? Well, I found one, the FP10, the prescription form, and that's been supported by practice systems for 20 years. We're really not getting very much further. Yes, our system does offer templates, but we have to set up a template for each individual form. And you can guarantee that most of those 50 aren't the same forms we're going to be seeing next year. It's time consuming to set up, and frankly, we've taken to ignoring very many of these forms just because there is no sensible way to manage them. It's very easy just to blame this on the local trust, and so I'll start there. In some ways, it seems a project doesn't get to fruition until it has a form. It seems to be like the electricity that Frankenstein uses to animate his monsters. It's suddenly official once you've produced a form. In many ways, they're not terribly helpful. However, nationally, we see exactly the same problems. Swine flu that came over this winter had at least 4 or 5 different prescribing forms, most of which ended up in the bin when the next lot came through, none of which had IT integration. And most recently, and possibly the biggest wasted opportunity of them all, has been the fit node. Now, this is black and white. This could be fairly easily printed. This includes patient's name and most of the other things that we put on a computer. The day we assess them is easily generated. The diagnosis, well, we'd have to type in, but effectively we're typing that in already. We make a separate record using read codes on the system, but we can't print this out. For a start, it's double-sided. Secondly, it comes in this silly size. We're not asking for an all-singing, all-dancing integration to start off with, but surely it should have been made possible to use, possible to innovate with. It's a depressing and wasted opportunity. So what do we need? Well, I'd say some regulation of forms, perhaps a standard sheet with the patient's demographics on, and then the more obscure stuff afterwards. Perhaps we have the opportunity of a data extraction system that actually we can suck these down and have a standard way of communicating this information across the NHS. Because when I scribble on these, someone else reads it and types it in at the other end. This is a problem in many aspects of industry, but equally this is a problem that's been solved many, many times, and the NHS is looking awfully paper heavy.